Hello and welcome back to Good Nightmare, a podcast where today I'm dealing with both a heater going on and off and a very restless cat, so I apologise in advance for any background noises. Most of us will have heard about the Bermuda Triangle, the place where ships and planes and people go missing with no explanation. It was something that I imagined would be much more of a problem in my adult life than it has been. The same as quicksand, which you hear a lot about when you're a kid, but probably never come across as an adult, unless you're incredibly unlucky or incredibly adventurous. Today's episode is similar to the Bermuda Triangle, the Bennington Triangle, which I hadn't heard about until recently, when I was hunting around the internet for unexplained missing persons cases. The Bennington Triangle is located in Vermont and is a site where multiple people have gone missing with no explanation between the years 1945 and 1950. The name Bennington Triangle was coined by author Joseph A. Citro during a radio show. Citro has penned many books on strange disappearances, mysteries, ghosts and monsters in the Vermont area, most of these being non-fiction, with a few fiction based in truth. I myself have plans to pick up a couple of these and read further into them for myself. If you've read any, I would love to hear your opinion on his writing. There are 5 well-known disappearance cases in the Bennington Triangle. The disappearances began with Mitty Rivers, 74, who disappeared on November 12, 1945, while hunting with a group. On the way home from the trip, Mitty apparently walked ahead of the group and they lost sight of him. Mitty was an avid hunter and knew his way around the area, so you would think that he'd be capable of getting himself to safety, or at least finding the group again. However, there was next to no trace of him. After an extensive search of the area, only a single cartridge was found in a stream. This gave searchers no leads as to his possible whereabouts, and he was never seen again. Not a single trace. Paula Welkin was only 18 when she disappeared on December 1, 1946. She had set out along a hiking trail, and witnesses reported seeing her leave as well as seeing her walking along the trail. In fact, an elderly couple said they'd been walking behind her when they saw her turn a corner, and the couple lost sight of her. When they came to the same curve in the road, they say that she was nowhere to be seen. Again, a thorough search was conducted, but no evidence or leads were found. As seems to be common in the disappearances of young women, rumours spread that she had simply run away, possibly with a secret boyfriend, or that she'd become a recluse and took to living in the mountains. Very far-fetched, if you want my opinion. In 1949, James Tedford disappeared. This disappearance is particularly spooky. Tedford had been visiting relatives nearby and was on a bus back home. In fact, he was witnessed on the bus just before entering Bennington. However, upon arriving at Bennington, he had disappeared. His luggage and a timetable were left behind on his seat, but no one could recall him getting off the bus at any point. He was simply gone. Paul Jeffson was only 8 years old when he vanished. It was October 12, 1950, and he'd been riding in a truck with his mother when she left him unattended for an hour to feed some pigs. When she returned to the truck, her son was gone. A thorough search was conducted, but there were no signs of the child. One story even tells that bloodhounds were brought in to track the child, and they managed to make it as far as a highway, the same highway where Paula Weldon was said to have disappeared 4 years earlier. To me, this sounds a little bit more like a possible speculation than fact. There doesn't seem to be a lot of reliable sources about what actually may have happened to either Paul or Paula Weldon. It was said that Paul was wearing a brightly coloured shirt when he went missing, which it was hoped would make him easier to find if he had simply wandered off. However, if you listen to my episode on the lost children, you'll know as well as I do how easy it is for especially a small child to get lost in the wilderness. Frida Langer was the last reported disappearance in this time. She vanished from the area only 16 days after Paul Jeffson. Langer was 53 when she was camping with her family in late October. She had left the campsite with her cousin Herbert to go hiking. She allegedly slipped during the walk and fell into a stream. She then told her cousin to wait for her while she went back to the campsite for a change of clothes. She would then return and join him on their hike. When Langer didn't return after some time, her cousin Herbert went back to the site to look for her. However, nobody there had seen her. The initial searches conducted brought no results. However, on May 12, 1951, her body was found near Somerset Reservoir. This area had been searched extensively, and nothing was found previously. No cause of death could be determined, and hers was the only body that was ever found. Aside from the disappearances all taking place between October and December, and being in the same general location, there are no other links between them. No plausible explanation for all of the disappearances has been found. It was Paula Weldon's case that was the one that piqued my interest in the Bennington Triangle and actually brought it to my attention. Paula's case changed the history of Vermont. Paula was a college student at the time of her disappearance and had decided to hike the famous Long Trail on the day that she disappeared. Allegedly, she'd tried to find other students to join her on the hike, but ended up going it alone. There were no signs that Paula intended to be gone for more than an hour or two. No bags packed and no belongings missing from her room. She allegedly hitched a ride with a contractor named Louis Knapp, who drove her partway to the trail, and it's assumed that from there she hitched further with other drivers to travel the rest of the way. We know that she made it as far as the trail and somewhat along it, thanks to the witnesses that had seen her that day. Paula's disappearance wasn't noted until the following morning, when she still hadn't returned to campus. The college itself organised a campus-wide search, but to no avail, and it was only when her photo was put in the paper that a fellow hiker identified her and could confirm that she had in fact been on the Long Trail. The search for Paula went on for weeks. Students, college staff, family and the general public, along with National Guard troops, all joined the effort. Ground and air searches revealed nothing of Paula's fate, and other theories had to be considered. This is where the rumours of her simply leaving, running away to be with a boyfriend, or going to live in the mountains as a recluse all came about. Paula's father pushed for more law enforcement to be involved in the case, as at the time there was no local police force in Vermont. At one stage, a person of interest was identified, a man who had told differing stories to police and even outright lied to them about his activities around the time. This man even suggested that he knew to within 100 feet where Paula's body was buried. However, he later claimed that this was just chatter and he didn't mean anything by it, that it wasn't truthful at all. I'm not entirely sure why this wasn't followed more thoroughly, or if it was and simply came to nothing. There are limited resources on this case. However, ultimately, Paula's remains were never found. Thanks to the diligence of Paula's father and heavy criticism by her father and the general public, the Vermont State Police were instated in the area. Thankfully, this meant that in later disappearances, there would be a dedicated force and a lot more resources that could go into missing persons cases in Vermont. Though, as we know, only one case was ever slightly resolved, when they found the body of Frida Langer, but still could not determine cause of death. There are so many unanswered questions in these disappearances. How is it that they all occurred around the same time, in the same place? Was it purely that there's an increased number of people in the area around this time of year? Was it that a certain person who was committing these murders, if they were murders, happened to be in the area around those times of year? Or was it something altogether unexplainable? Is it really the Bennington Triangle, snatching people from thin air? Or was there someone out there who got away with murder? I know which theory feels more likely to me, but I would love to hear your thoughts. If you have any additional resources or information about the case, or if you're from the area and would like to share something with me that I can add as a bonus update episode on the show, I would love to hear from you. You can reach me on social media at goodnightmare_s on Twitter and Instagram. You can reach me on Facebook and join the Facebook closed group where we can chat about cases at Goodnightmare Pod. These will all be linked in the show notes. You can also email me at goodnightmare_s@outlook.com. I am probably easiest to reach via email as I'm kind of not on social media as much anymore. I don't know if anyone's noticed, but it's been a nice mental health break. Thank you so much for listening, and hopefully the sound of the heater in the background wasn't too frustrating and didn't come through too much. Until next time, sweet dreams.
Hi, I'm Matt.
And I am Jesse. So, what is American Slacker, I guess, right?
The highest amount of dick jokes per episode per podcast.
We've been on the air for 57 straight years.
57 straight years of dick jokes.
Thing is constantly soaring over my head.
And you pulling my chain in your weekly weird news.
We're also cannabis friendly. We kind of sneak it in there, almost like you're lacing the brownies at the family reunion.
It's the ride of your motherfucking life.
Fucking 11 when there's only 10 on the dial.
Weapons of mass destruction.
It's a threat to society.
Food assaults.
Yeah, that happens too sometimes. An ostrich took a lit match into a fireworks factory.
I don't even know where to go with that one.
No, that's our third story.
Oh my God. America, what are you doing?
There's always someone dumb getting fucked over.
Well, they should have never gave raccoons rights, in my opinion.
Oh my God. You can help us. You can help everyone.
Download our shit now.
We're second America.